Welcome back to the incredible Rockets Propaganda Channel. I am your man's, AK Infinity. Follow me on Twitter/X. Also, follow me on YouTube and Rockets Round Robin, AK Infinity _VVS on Twitter, and on YouTube at Rockets Round Robin. You know how to go. You know how to go find all of that. And if you don't, I feel sorry for you. But yeah, man, welcome back to this is another episode of the Shootin podcast. I got a heavyweight OG in the house, Mr. Lachard Binkley. What's going on with it, bro?
Oh, nothing much, man. It's a rainy Sunday, here in Houston. So always happy to talk Rockets, especially when they're winning. I think everybody in Houston, everybody following the Rockets deserves it after that 3 previous years of whatever that was.
Yeah, we definitely deserve this. We earned this, especially the ones who watched every game of that rebuild. Here we are.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was, but it was worth it, man. The lows kind of make the highs feel a whole lot better.
Absolutely.
Definitely. That's right. But yeah, man, I kind of wanted to touch on your background though, man. Like, how obviously you're a writer and you do the Rockets Fuel YouTube channel as well. Talk to me a little bit how all that came about, how you became a Rockets fan, the whole nine.
Oh well, I'm native Houstonian, so I've been following the Rockets since the '80s. My dad is still a huge Rockets fan, so of course I got it from him. So I've been cheering for the Rockets since back in the Lewis Lloyd, Mitchell Wiggins, Twin Tower days. That's how far back I go with the Rockets. So I've been a diehard Rockets fan that entire time. And up until, I would say 2019, that's all. I mean, I was just a fan. I wasn't doing any writing, wasn't doing any podcasting. And then just kind of out of nowhere, saw something come up on Twitter saying they needed writers for it was kind of like a mid-tier site called Overtime Heroics, saying they need NBA writers. Jumped in with like 50 other people trying to become writers, and kind of took off from there. Went from Overtime Heroics to Space City Scoop, then Space City Scoop to Dream Shake, and then Dream Shake to where I am now at Sports Illustrated. And in between there, I was able to become credentialed. I actually started covering the Vipers first. And that's kind of how I was able to get in with the Rockets. I actually followed covering the Vipers during their championship year when they had, everybody's favorite Dacian Nix was there. He won them and Trevelyan Queen, and they won a title that first year. And then from there I kind of transitioned into the Rockets, and I've been credentialed with the Rockets the last 3 seasons. And even though they were losing, it was still fun to kind of be part of that whole process. But when you get into game 70 and the Rockets have lost 18 in a row, it's kind of tough. So it's definitely a lot more fun these days, that's for sure.
So did you go to school for journalism or anything like that? Nah, so you just talented.
Well, I don't know. It depends on who you talk to, but I always just kind of wanted to be a writer. It's something I wanted to do my entire life. I mean, by day, I've been doing IT work for the last 25 years. So
awesome.
So I transitioned into writing and didn't really think it would ever get this far. Cause like I said, wrote my first article, Overtime Heroics. I actually wrote it on Daryl Morey, which is funny enough. That was like my very first article. And
interesting.
Kind of from there, I just kind of worked my way up and got to know some people over at the Rockets PR. And like I said, the Vipers part was huge because they worked closely with the Rockets, and they kind of saw that I wasn't an idiot, so they finally gave me some credentials. I mean, that goes a long way because they've kind of been burnt in the past on some of the people they've given credentials to. So I definitely had to. I'm sure you can guess a few of them, but I won't name any names. But yeah, it was a lot of hard work, and it's definitely paid off.
Man, that sound crazy. That sound like a little kid with a dream, and you just messing around with it. And next thing you know, here you are, kind of doing it big. I like to say, if I had to say so, I give you a little credit, give you flowers, doing
Appreciate
it big.
Appreciate that.
I know the reason I kind of follow your content is because you don't just do the basic, just talking about numbers and leaving it at that. Like, you go in depth, you kind of get a reason why. and you kind of get into the X's and O's a little bit. You kind of give some backstory. You got like give a complete picture. Like it ain't just a sheet of paper and you draw a stick man and then put rockets on top. You put color, you put a little emotion on the face, you put a frame around it, the whole thing, man. So yeah. So how did you like kind of develop your writing style too?
I would say it's actually a good thing, because not to say anything wrong with people that go to school and they're journalists and nothing wrong with that, but I can see it from a fan perspective, because I mean, I still am a fan, even though I can't really be a fan.
Yeah. You can't be a fanboy.
No, I can't do that while I'm at the games. I got to be professional, all that. But I'm still a fan at the end of the day. So I can kind of see it from their perspective on what they want. But also at the same time, I can understand, from a business standpoint, how you have to do it. So I kind of see both worlds. And then also the fact that I'm old enough to have watched the Rockets for, almost 4 decades now. That's crazy. To watch them for 4 decades. But at the same time, I'm young enough to understand, how some of the younger fans see the game. And it's not just, straight, numbers, this, numbers, that. It's a lot more to the game. It's like people like Barkley and, Shaq and them, they don't like analytics. I love analytics. I love breaking down the numbers and stuff like that. But also understand you have to watch the game as well. It's not just as simple as analytics, because if it was just analytics, players like Jayshawn Tate probably wouldn't even be in the league, because they're not necessarily analytical darlings when it comes to, their stat sheet. But I kind of see both perspectives, and I think that just kind of helps me when I'm writing, that, I understand, like, hey, if I was a fan, I would want to see this. But at the same time, if I'm not necessarily a diehard fan, I want the actual numbers and the breakdown and things like that.
Yeah, I think what the analytics does especially is it's really valuable for people who do the gambling, in my opinion.
It's a big part of it. Yeah.
That's why. But I also think it's twofold. On one hand, the gambling kind of helps with bringing some more attention to the league, and creating more fans for the league on one hand. But on the other hand, how much value do those well, I guess those fans do have value because they put money in it to a certain extent.
Yeah,
they'll fall in love with certain players, but they don't watch the players. So okay. And then you listen to some people talk. I just had Sheldon from Utility Sports on last week, and we were just saying, like, some of these guys you can just tell who ain't watching.
Yeah.
But to Charles Barkley credit, at least he tell you he ain't watching.
Yeah, he's honest. He's like, I don't watch majority of the players. That's why I don't know their names. So he's being honest. They ain't pretending like some people pretend like they watch every game, and they really don't. They just watch the box score, which is unfortunate, because you can't really debate people that just look at box scores, because box scores don't tell you everything.
Yeah, they don't. The way I see it is kind of like so some people they use the numbers as a way to rank players in a certain type of way. I use the film to help explain what I'm seeing. Not explain what I'm seeing, but help add context to what I'm seeing. I don't use the numbers to help me. Well, no, let me take that back. So I use the numbers to kind of help add color to what I'm seeing. Because I might be looking at one thing, and then you ask yourself, why is the coach doing this? And then you look at the numbers like, okay, well, that kind of does make some sense. But some people are using the numbers and looking at that instead of, and then they'll look at the numbers, and then they'll look at the film to help them add context to the numbers. And I'm just like, it's kind of backwards. So because for example, like you said, Jayshawn Tate, he may not have like may not be a 50, 40, 90 guy, but his numbers in themselves ain't all that good, but the team's numbers might be better when he's on. I'm not saying that that's the case, actually, but there's certain factors to what makes him valuable. For example, why they play him and Şengün together, two quote-unquote non-shooters. Well, you can't put your center on Jayshawn Tate just like Coach Silas said, you can't put your center on Jayshawn Tate and have him guard Jayshawn Tate if Şengün is in there, because whoever the hell you got guard Şengün is going to get
not going to work. Yeah. And also Jayshawn Tate, for instance, had a charge last night. unless you go really deep into the numbers, you may not even notice that. But he's the best guy on the team when it comes to taking charges. It's just small things like that make a huge difference, or deflection, or he may sprint down the court on a fast break that open up some lane for somebody else coming down on the fast break. It's a lot of little things that somebody like M.A. loves. He's that type of coach that loves a little small details, especially on the defensive end. So you look at Jae'Sean Tate numbers, and he's having his lowest numbers probably of his entire career. But when you look at his impact on the game, it's a totally different thing if you're actually watching, all 48 minutes. Yeah.
I remember back in the day, they used to do, a lot of people used to use per 36 to determine whether or not somebody was going to be something. Like if they started, you should start this guy and play them 36 minutes and they'll give you this output. No, it don't work like that. Absolutely not. It does not work like that.
That's too black and white. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, and then it could be also, to that point, it could be a matter of a player that comes in and just does less, which allows other guys to do more, which makes them better. And them doing less makes the team better. So I'll give you a good example. Fred VanVleet, the less he's done, the better we did.
Somehow I knew you were gonna. That just, as soon as you said that, I'm not gonna lie, that name popped in my head.
I was just, as I was talking, I was like, man, I got a tangible example in today's present right now that everybody can resonate with. Because for a while, Fred VanVleet was everybody's whipping boy. They were trying to trade him for anything that was moving with a pulse. I said, well, I don't want to get rid of the guy. I see what value he has. I just think he's being overused. The value he had in Toronto was, when you need me, call me, and I'll be your mercenary. Yeah. Otherwise, let me take a step back and let Kawhi cook, Pascal cook, Lowry cook. That's the role that Fred VanVleet literally won a championship with. So thinking he gonna come here and try to make him Allen Iverson, that's not gonna work.
And honestly, that's what he wants. I mean, just talking to him, talking to M.A. doesn't want him to be the primary ball handler all the time. And that's why you see his assist numbers are down this year after having a career year last year. And that's why you see that his usage is down this year, because Jalen and Alperin and Amin, they're taking a lot more of that primary ball handling. Honestly, it's the best thing because Fred is their best catch and shoot guy on the entire team. So it's better when he is playing off ball and not, having, because a lot of times people don't realize, and that's another thing where numbers can be tricky. They look at it like, Fred keep jacking up these 30-footers. But a lot of times he's doing that because it's the end of the shot clock, and he's usually the one that ends up with the ball. So that's where it kind of comes into, you have to watch the games to realize why they love Fred VanVleet so much. It ain't because he's, like you said, he's not Allen Iverson. He's not John Morant. Heck, he's not even Amen Thompson. He's not flashy. He's not going to dunk on anybody. He's not going to cross anybody over. But
he ain't going to make Sports Center top 10.
I don't think he's ever. Well, maybe if he made a game winner, that's probably the only time he's made Sports Center top 10, because that's just not his game. So if you're expected to see that, then you're going to be disappointed.
Most definitely, man. But man, in this current role, with us rolling, especially offensively, it's been beautiful. Now the defense so much as of late, that's not Ime ball, man. That is not Ime ball at all. See, he's even making you sick. See,
I did start coughing like, whoa. Where that come from? But yeah, it's slipped since the beginning of the year, which is kind of funny. It correlates with, and I'm not saying because Ahmed got in the lineup, but Jabari's out. They also because they're playing a lot better teams too. I mean, you got to factor that in. But the offense is a lot better. They're top 5 in offensive rating. They're top 2 in scoring since January 1st. So the defense has slipped a little bit, but their offense is now picked it up, because it was, let's be honest, first couple of months it wasn't that good.
It was broccoli, bro. It was plain steamed broccoli. They ain't even put no salt and pepper on it, just broccoli. Here, take that. Nah.
Some cheese, something.
They ain't put no Parmesan on it, nothing, bro. No imagination, just steamed broccoli. Man, dog. But I get why they kind of did it at first, is because you kind of want to ease in your offensive identity with these young guys. You don't want them to start to develop bad habits. I get it, but my goodness, that was hard to watch, because it was some games we left on the table because the offense was so broccoli to me, man.
Oh yeah, so they were like they actually went backwards in their 3-point shooting from last year when they wasn't that
which
great.
We thought was hard to do.
Yeah, Yeah, they were actually worse the first couple of months. So they've definitely improved. And I mean, having Ahmed in the lineup, it just makes it easier for everybody. Let's just be honest.
I think his best attribute to the starting lineup is more than anything else is the IQ part of it. Like him just knowing what to do, knowing where to be on both ends. Like, for example, we're gonna use that Cleveland game as a prime example. Imagine anybody else on the roster being in the spots that Amen Thompson was being in when you got two quote unquote non-shooters playing against the zone. But the two non-shooters that we have, Amen especially, super high IQ, sees the floor very well, and he was picking that thing apart, man. I hope the rest of the NBA watch that. Don't ever play zone against the Rockets again, because we're gonna tear that thing up. And then this is a Cleveland zone where you got Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. You got, I don't know how many feet of wingspan that is between the two of them alone, but we picked that thing apart like it was no big deal.
Yeah, and
so
they said they had been working on it. Yeah.
Good, they better been working on that, because man, you remember in the Silas days, you played zone on the Rockets, game was over. Game was over. Couldn't figure it out.
Teams went straight to the zone because they knew the Rockets couldn't figure it out. They didn't get the ball to the middle of the court, and when they did get the middle of the court, whoever they gave it to didn't know what to do. But now you give that ball to Amen in the middle of the court, or you give it to Şengün in the middle of the court, then Amen is cutting to the basket. I mean, at that point, it's like, what do you do as a defense? And then it was even a couple of times where they kicked it out and Fred got a wide open three. So it's definitely a totally different team now than it was even at the beginning of the year. And I mean, it's good to see, because you can't depend on your defense the entire year and be like 30th in offense. That's just not going to work.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work. It ain't never worked for nobody, man. I think the physical style too is it bothers a lot of teams, because I didn't realize that we were number one in free throw defense. But it's almost like all that pushing and grabbing and elbowing and punching that we be doing, because we low key be scrapping with everybody when the ref's not looking. They probably were like, man, you know what? Let me miss these free throws, man.
It takes a toll on you, right? I mean, I don't care who you are. And I know teams ain't used to that, because they were used to pushing the Rockets around before MA got here. And now that's just not the case. Now people complain that the Rockets are a dirty team, which I'm sure MA's fine with. Like, he loves that reputation.
Most definitely. I mean, it takes for a team like this to be second seed in the jungle, the Serengeti, that's the Western Conference. Yeah, it got to be some intangible that we're doing. And really, we're doing all the intangibles. We're doing all the little stuff. It's the big stuff we're not even doing all that great yet. We're just okay at it. And we're in the second seed right now. So imagine if we start getting more consistently smart offense, more consistently efficient offense, coupled with a top 5 defense. Okay, now we cook it with some hot grease, and we finna fry some nice little chicken, because that's hard to deal with. That's hard. Like, how do you? It's hard to game plan against a team that rarely makes mistakes and does the difficult things well, and we have athleticism. So it's like, okay,
makes a big difference. I mean, that's part of the reason why Fred is still in the starting lineup, because he doesn't turn the ball over. So I mean, we saw anytime Fred is not running the offense, and Jalen has to run it full time, or Aaron Holiday or Reed Shepherd, the offense just doesn't look the same. So as much as people don't like Fred, Emma's going to play Fred regardless. He's never going to bench Fred unless Fred is hurt, or unless they up by 30. So people that think that's ever going to happen and keep asking me why he never puts Fred on the bench, it's just not going to happen. He trusts Fred that much to where he's probably the only player on the team that he won't bench. I honestly,
he is literally.
I think it's Fred and Amen at this point, because Amen just does so many other things besides scoring. Unless Amen just turns the ball over 10 times in a game, I think Amen's getting to the point now he won't bench Amen, especially if it's a close game. Now everybody else, that's a different story. But those two players is just so important to the team in different ways. I just don't see him benching Fred for any. He'll bench Dylan before he bench Fred.
He has benched Dylan a couple times. Yeah, Dylan is kind of sort of taking a step back. I don't know if it's him taking a step back, or if the new identity that's forming for the Rockets right now, the new hierarchy that I think is developing right now, is kind of like kind of leaving him the odd man out. It's kind of what it's looking like to me. I don't know what you're seeing on your end, or if there's anything that you could tell from like practice, like how different is he looking now as opposed to earlier in the season.
Well, so I don't know. I don't have any inside information. Just from what I see from him, in between practices or post game, he's definitely dealing with some type of maybe nagging injury. I don't know what it is. But he's definitely, and they're never gonna. I mean, a lot of players are dealing with injuries. They just don't talk about it. Like Şengün, I knew for a while he was dealing with a shoulder problem that he's been messing with all season. He finally got over the ankle issue. Jalen been dealing with injuries all season long that people rarely ever talk about. So everybody's kind of dealing with their own little injuries. But I think that, and just kind of it was a matter of time before. I mean, he started off the season shooting over 40% from three, sort of like last year. Eventually, it was gonna come back kind of to the middle. You just don't want him to drop off to 32% from 3-point range. You don't want him to kind of stay in that 35, 36% range. But, ultimately, this is who Dylan is. Dylan is a below average shooter, but he's going to give you the top level defense that you see from him most nights, even though, I mean, just like anything, it's kind of slipped a little bit since the beginning of the year. But that kind of just brings into question when Jabari comes back, what do you do if you're the Rockets? Because I was talking with Vader earlier on our show. Like, it's just no way you can put Amen back on the bench. It would be crazy for them. I know MA loves his veterans. I know he loves keeping continuity between the starting lineups, but there's just no way you can put Amen back on the bench. So at this point, you just got to figure out, all right, is it going to be Jabari or Dylan who's going to be coming off the bench, for the rest of the season?
Oh no, man, because again, I understand that we are playing better teams now, but we were winning too with Jabari in the lineup. So it's like, it's not. I don't think it's a matter of a man replacing Jabari that's, I guess, making us look more dynamic offensively, because that's really where the biggest change is. Defensively, Ime can clean up a lot of all that other stuff, but it's offensively where the biggest change is. And you would think when you remove a shooter like Jabari that the offense would not be as good. The opposite has happened.
Yeah.
And the defense, but it's the defense where Jabari is really looking like, I guess, the straw that turns the drink on defense, I would say. I think it's probably safe to say that, because the fact that Jabari cleans up a lot of people's weaknesses and he could switch on whatever, whoever, and you feel good on with Jabari on even a point guard. You feel good with Jabari on a point guard. And then on the other end, he can exploit a mismatch. If you got a point guard switching on to him, he could just turn, fade, and shoot, and we good on that possession. He can go get offensive rebounds. Yeah. Jabari brings so much that I think that people are not really realizing until now that he's out.
So, I mean, it's a weird dynamic, because it's kind of hard to tell, because they're playing better teams, so the defense is going to be worse. They're shooting better, so it makes the offense look better. And it happened around the same time that Amen, became a starter, but they actually started shooting better in December. Their numbers started to improve in December. Yeah. So it's kind of hard to say, like, oh, wow, the offense is so much better because Amen, and I don't really think that's the case. I mean, he brings a different dynamic. They're definitely a faster team. They definitely play more above the rim. But, yeah, I don't think it's Amen took Jabari's spot. That's why their offense is so much better. You would think it actually would be the reverse, that the offense would be worse and the defense would be better. But
that's what I was thinking myself.
But it's just because they're also playing better teams. That's why their defense is. So it's just kind of a weird dynamic. It's kind of even hard to say, okay, well, they're so much better because Amen's in the starting line. But let's be honest, when it comes down to it, Amen he just makes so many more plays than pretty much almost anybody on the team, to where you got to continue to give him time. And I think he fits better in the starting lineup, because him coming off the bench, then he's having to play more one-on-one type basketball. With the starters, he can kind of just float around playing off with Jalen and Alperen. That's why I think he just fits better in the starting lineup. And to me, if I was doing it, I would say you still start Jabari and then you put Amen as small forward. But knowing M80, the little I do, that's not going to happen. They're not benching. They're not going to bench Dylan. I know that pretty much for a fact. That's the player they're not going to bench. So after that is, okay, what they're going to do between Jabari and Amen. That's kind of what it's going to come down to.
Man, and in my opinion, man, the problem really is if let's say we do put Jabari on the bench. All right, cool. So now you got Jabari, Cam, and Tari, who are three guys who pretty much on offense need somebody to feed them. Reed Shepard has not been playing up to par so far in his rookie campaign, so we can't really depend on him to do that. Aaron Holiday is out of the rotation at the moment. I don't know if he's dealing with something or not, but it looked like he's out the rotation at the moment. And Jay Sean Tate, this is not the Steven Silas era where you would sometimes throw Jay Sean Tate at point guard. We're not doing that. Yeah. So I don't know how that's going to look when Jabari comes back. That's why we are fans, and Ime get paid the big bucks to figure out these tough decisions. Because, but it's a good problem to have. Problems like that are good to have because, man, I really can't lose either way. Because I've been winning with Jabari in the starting lineup, but we look aesthetically more pleasing with Amen Thompson in the lineup, and we're beating these good teams. But who's to say that we weren't also going to beat these good teams with Jabari in the lineup? Well, that's the big mission.
I think it's going to be a case of where it's going to be like, oh, we just easing Jabari back in. He's going to come off starting off the bench, and then once he gets back up to speed, we'll figure it out from there. And then it just happens to where he never gets back in the starting lineup. I just honestly think that's what's going to happen because it kind of gives them an out. Like, well, we trying to ease him back in. He missed. Honestly, I think he's going to miss more like 6 to 8 weeks than the 4 to 6 weeks they were talking about. But they're going to try to ease him back in, and then that's a perfect excuse to have him coming off the bench because he has to get back, into playing shape. But then after that, but who knows at that point because, injuries happen in the NBA. Who knows who's going to be in the lineup and out the lineup. But if you ask Ime right now, he's not going to tell you what they're going to do, even though they know what they're going to do when he comes back, but he's never going to. That Ime just not the type to tell you that type of stuff. So
of course not. What has it been? 3 weeks since Jabari been down? 3 weeks, 4 weeks now?
3 weeks,
three weeks.
No update. So that tells me that he's, like I said, closer to 6 to 8 weeks than 4 to 6, to be perfectly honest.
So that's probably going to put him like around early March or so.
Probably so.
Probably best case scenario, early March or so. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is after the trade deadline, which is a good segue to me asking you, just knowing what you know, if I had to put you on the spot and you are Rafael Stone, today you're Lachard Stone. Right now, you're Lachard Stone.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the team right now, knowing what you know? Like, are we making a big splash? Are we making a move around the edges? Are we standing pat? What are we doing?
Yeah, I don't see, unless something just falls in their lap and they just can't pass it up. I don't see Rafael making any big moves, just because for a couple of reasons, Jalen and Alperen's contracts haven't even kicked in yet. So you're talking about if you're making a trade, you have to start with a Dylan Brooks because he makes $20 million a year. So you're starting with a Dylan Brooks, and then you got to add in other players just to match the salary of a. If you're talking about like a Devin Booker or something like that, you're going to have to match their salary. So you're going to have to throw in multiple players just to get to that salary plus picks. And I don't think that's something he wants to do. And on top of that, they're 30 and 14. Like, why would you make a major trade when you're already a number 2 seed? And now you get to see what the young guys can do in the playoffs. And then you'll be able to figure out in the offseason, okay, so-and-so had a horrible playoff. I think it's time for us we need to do this. Or so-and-so was great. Like Jalen goes off in the playoffs and we get to the second round. Then you're like, okay, why would I trade Jalen Green for an older Devin Booker? It wouldn't even make any sense. Or Zach LaVine or whatever name you want to throw out there as far as players that could come to the Rockets. So I don't see them making any major trades because, again, they'll have more flexibility in the offseason because that's when the extensions for Alperen and Jalen kick in, and you wouldn't have to be adding multiple players into any type of trade just to match salary. So if anything, they'll make a small trade. And up until this last few weeks, I would have been like, maybe they try to make a trade for backup center. But, I mean, Steven Adams is giving you, he's giving everything that they wanted. So why would you go trade for a Robert Williams who can't stay healthy and is not good of a rebounder? Yes, he does play above the rim, which is something they don't have at the center position. But is that better than getting double-digit rebounds from Steven Adams? I don't.
In 12 minutes.
In 12 minutes. So I just don't see. If anything, Rafael will probably do some trading, 1 second round pick for 3 future second round picks or something. Rafael Stone.
Man, that's crazy.
That's crazy. Honestly, I think that's pretty much the only thing they're going to really do at the deadline, because if anything, I think they'll be more focused on the buyout market than the trade deadline, because now they're back in that position where players are going to want to come and play for them. Because in the previous years, who in the buyout market would want to come play for the Rockets when they were winning 20 games every year? But now you're a top 2 team, you're a young team, you have a coach that all players around the league love playing for. I think they focus more on that than the trade deadline, to be honest with you.
Man, I never thought about that, and I've never heard anybody else even bring that up. So that's why I'm bringing you on, because it be stuff like that you bring up. I'm like, man, I didn't think about that, man. Yeah. So, speaking of that, I guess let's ask this question. Is there anybody on the radar that you even believe could get bought out around the league that's probably not in the best situation for themselves right now? Or is that something we want to see after the trade deadline? Because there's some guys who are not going to get traded that want to get traded.
Yeah, and I guess you kind of have to do it like after the trade deadline, because then because right now everybody has the hopes that if they were a team they don't want to be with, that they can get traded. But after that trade deadline, then you're like, oh, well, crap. The only way I can get out of this is they're going to have to buy me out or something like that. It's nobody I can kind of just think of off the top of my head. But, I mean, if you're the Rockets, I guess the one position you will be looking at is point guard, because you don't really have a backup point guard right now. I mean, you have people that can play point guard, but if Fred goes down, then what are you kind of doing then? Are you putting Jalen playing more? You don't want Jalen to have to play point guard. You want Jalen to be able to be free flowing. Yeah, that's just not that's just not his game. So if any position you're going to be looking at, to me, you want a TJ McConnell type point guard or something like that to play as your backup that can fill in from time to time. That's the type of, or Ty Jerome, like with Cleveland, like he comes out of nowhere and all of a sudden he's scoring left and right. But you want somebody like that can fill in if anything ever happens to Fred.
Supposed to be Aaron Holiday though. I'm just curious, like, why he not in the?
I think he's just more of a point guard. Yeah, he's more of a combo guard, and honestly, I think Tate's taking most of the few minutes that are left. I think Tate is taking those minutes. So, but you still want an Aaron Holiday on your team, because you need players on your team who they won't play for 2 weeks and you won't hear a peep out of them, and then they'll come in and they'll give you. Yeah.
So, what they call it, the stay ready crew.
The stay ready crew.
Yeah. I like Holiday, man. I like Holiday. I would just like to have seen him a little bit more on the floor, just because of his 3-point shooting and his defense. But I think part of the reason why Ime might not be playing him is the rebounding factor, because he's taking a step back in that department. And Aaron Holiday ain't finna be out there boxing nobody out. Jason Tate will though. He might be on the sides, but he's gonna get a body on him.
Tate's he's gonna run into somebody at some point.
He's gonna get called for a foul too. We know that. We accept that with Tate, but it's all good. we take the whole body of work, man. We're not just gonna take one side. We ain't gonna take the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. I was gonna say too. So the Rockets, we won 30 games so far this season, and last year we didn't get to that point until what was it, March 4th or something like that. And at that point, we had more losses than wins. So, man. So just looking at the big picture, man, how would you evaluate that point last year to this point?
I mean, it's a huge difference, and people forget. Yeah, like you just said, the Rockets were under 500 for a long time. It took that 11-game winning streak for them to even get back, to the 500 mark. And also, you look at the Rockets already have more road wins than they did all the last season. So to me, that's the biggest thing is they're winning more. They're winning on the road because most teams can win at home. They're used to playing at home, but winning on the road, that's kind of success going into the playoffs that you're going to need, because you're going to need to be able to win on the road, because most teams are not always going to win every single playoff game at home. So you're going to have to at some point go on the road and win some games. And they've already won more road games than they did all of last year. I mean, if you add up the 3 years prior to MA coming, they've probably won more games on the road this season than they did those entire 3 years that Coach Salas was coaching. So
that's crazy. I got to do that math because that's nuts.
And I may be wrong because I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm just going to take a wild guess because they didn't win.
It might be right.
They probably didn't win a lot of road games because they weren't winning a lot of games during those 3 years. I mean, they only won what 60
The most we
games
won was
in those
21 games, 22 games.
Yeah, so I have to imagine they wasn't winning on the road probably during those 20-game losing streak seasons. So just overall, I mean, most people didn't see this coming. I thought they would make the playoffs. I thought they could be a top 6 seed at best. But I'm not gonna sit up in line and say, "Oh yeah, I just knew they're gonna be a top 2 seed this year." I would be lying if I said that. So, I mean, it's pretty crazy, especially in the Western Conference, how tough the West is, and that kind of just goes back to, I mean, I don't see how MA can't be Coach of the Year right now because I know Cleveland and OKC have better records, but nobody's surprised by that. Nobody's surprised by Cleveland and OKC because they both made the playoffs. They both, had really successful years last year. And I mean, you look at Cleveland, they got an all NBA player on their team. They have another all-star in Darius Garland. And look at OKC, how far they got last year. So to me, it's pretty cut and dry that MA is, unless the Rockets just kind of fall off a cliff, that he's pretty much leading the Coach of the Year, race right now.
They saying JB Bickerstaff with the Pistons, which I wouldn't necessarily be mad at. I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, but at the same time, they're hovering around 500 in the Eastern Conference and a weaker conference. So he could be second. I mean, that's fine. But I don't see how he could win it over MA when people were barely even picking the Rockets to even make the playoffs this year.
They were calling us a play-in team.
Play-in team. So
funny.
To me, it shouldn't really even be close if you're looking at it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that because, man, you look at the Rockets roster, man, we ain't got no accolades. We got some all-rookie guys. That's it.
That's it, yeah.
We ain't got nobody on the all-defense team. Definitely not no all-NBA. No all-stars. Well, Fred hit an all-star game.
He made that one all-star game.
Nobody winning a game. When I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, for real?" Man,
he squeaked in one year.
Exactly, and that was after the championship year, so he was already kind of had some buzz about that. So, yeah, like we don't have no accolades on this team, like no individual accolades from nobody who's done anything in this league, and we damn near might not even have an all-star, which I think is a bunch of bull corn because. How you don't have on the second seeded team in the Western Conference, you don't have one all-star, like one? Obviously the coaches are still trying to put their votes together or whatever. But come on, man. You as a coach know when you putting your game plan together, man, we playing the Rockets. I don't know what we're gonna do with that big Turkish fella.
Oh yeah. It's this double triple team Şengün every single game. And Şengün should definitely make the All-Star team. I mean, I know you got Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Davis. They got to vote in. Or you're bringing. I understand that, but at the end of the day, winning should matter. When I was actually watching NBA TV last night, they made a good point. They were like, everybody. It's a ton of people averaging 20 points a game now in the NBA. That's not really even a big deal anymore. So winning has to matter at some point. And if winning matters, and you're the number 2 seed in the West. Even though Şengün is not even averaging the same numbers he did last year, but his play is more impactful this year because every single game now he's getting double and triple team, and he's having to make those quick decisions, and he just makes the game easier for everybody else. And don't get me wrong, Jalen's having his best year of his career, but the guard position it's just way too tough. I don't see any way he's going to get voted. Coach is going to vote him in, but Alperen, at the end of the day, Alperen should be. An all-star, like you said. Now, will they be an all-star? I wouldn't be shocked if for some reason they don't give the Rockets an all-star. Honestly, if anything, it will probably actually make the Rockets even better if they don't make them an all-star, because then
they'd be pissed.
It'll be a revenge tour thing going on. So I guess we'll kind of see how that plays out on Thursday.
The people that they calling ahead of Alperen Şengün is people who are older than him, obviously. Sabonis, Anthony Davis. Who else? Victor? Not Victor Wembanyama. He ain't older, but popularity and all that.
Victor Wembanyama for sure. They're going to put him just because it's the whole NBA thing and trying to promote him. And don't get me wrong, he's a great player.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has to do, even though it's not a fan vote, a lot of times these coaches don't even, outside of watching tape when they're scouting somebody, they're not paying attention to players around the league when they're playing. So all they know is that Victor Wembanyama is on Sports Center every single night. So they're like, oh, well, put Victor Wembanyama in. He seemed like the one of the best front court guys in the league. So I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of.
And I forgot that it's fully front court, like it's not even center or big. So you got to throw in Jalen Williams in there.
Jalen Williams.
Who else? Somebody else. Man, there was somebody else that I heard that they was trying to put in there too. Obviously Kawhi can't put it. You can't put Kawhi in there. He just came back. Norman Powell. Norman Powell. Like, really, bro?
DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar DeRozan. All right, man. Just say you don't want this dude from Houston in the game. Just say that. I can accept that. It ain't like I'm gonna watch the All-Star game anyway. I don't really care about the All-Star game.
No, especially now. It's just stupid format, but whatever.
He said it's a stupid format.
It is. I mean, it's like, come on, what are we doing? Like, just be competitive and go out there and play the game. You don't need no 3-on-3 or no, 21 or whatever else they would have come up with. Like, it's just, come on.
Nah, I got an idea for the All-Star game. You want it to matter? You want it to mean something? I got you. Here we go. On the Rockets Propaganda Channel. Here we go. This is how you fix the All-Star game. All right, y'all listening? All right, cool. Better be listening. So, do it like the MLB does. If your side, if the West or the East, whoever wins, you get home court advantage in the finals. That's right.
Yeah.
That, to me, would really put some stakes on that game. Especially for these dudes who are on like real contenders and they all-stars, they really gonna take it serious. And they're gonna try to push their teammates to take it serious too. So
I mean,
you
gotta do something because the 3-on-3, to me, that's just not gonna work. They'll be going back to that's real gimmicky. And I mean, at that point, if you're gonna do that, you might as well just do the United States against the world or something. That'd be more entertaining than some 3-on-3 contest that nobody's gonna really watch.
They need to call Ice Cube and give him his flowers. They need to pay him some royalties for that because they know where they got that from. Come on now. We're gonna do 3-on-3 at the All-Star game. Man, come on, man. I know Ice Cube looking at that like, man, y'all mother. You know what I'm saying?
They're already trying to run him out of business, and now they're taking his idea.
That boy working on his diss track right now. No Vaseline Part 2. You got to be old enough to remember that.
I'm about to say, I wonder how many young people who listen to this don't even know what that is. But
Google is your friend, kids. We ain't had Google in 19. What year was that?
That was
90. Was that
mid 90s? Or maybe 93? Early 90s.
I think that was like 92, 93 or something like that.
Yeah, he had just left the NWA, so maybe it was probably early 90s.
Yeah, it had to be early 90s, man. That's when diss tracks was going crazy. It had the Easy E with the real Compton City G's. One of my favorite songs ever, by the way. Man, this ain't no West Coast propaganda. This Rockets propaganda. Let's get off that. But yeah,
we were just doing screw in the 90s in Houston. So
big facts. And low key, a lot of other people took their style from down here in Houston, but we're not gonna get on that. But hey, Snoop Dogg, why you ain't never so respected Mr. 3-2? But anyway, we're not gonna get on that. I know.
I don't want to hear the Snoop.
I know the stories. Like,
I'll leave him alone. He's something else now. So
we're not touching that with a 90-foot pole.
I'm gonna stop.
We're gonna let that ride. The comments are probably gonna go nuts after that though.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, this I'm putting you on the spot now. Now you Adam Silver. So you're hearing about the ratings being a problem, people taking too many threes. Now Lachard Silver, what would you do to try to, help the NBA ratings, man?
So kind of two things. Number one, I don't think the ratings are bad as everybody make them out to be, because the NBA, more than anybody else, fans get their highlights, they get their stats, whatever. They get a lot of their from social media. So the NBA is actually more popular on social media than the NFL if you actually go look at the numbers. And another thing, probably more than any other league, let's just be honest, is illegal streaming going on when it comes with the NBA, because half the time you can't find the games. Like, I know, for instance, myself, I have to pay for Fubo just to be able to watch the games, because I already said I'm not going back to Xfinity or AT&T or any of those other, satellite, any of the other ones. So the only way I can watch the games legally is through Fubo. So I have to pay. So I have to pay $80 just to watch the Rockets. That's the only reason I got Fubo. Sorry, Fubo, if you're gonna sponsor somebody at some point, I'm sorry, but that's the only reason I even have you is to watch the Rockets game. So that's a big problem right there. Like the NFL, every single one of their games is pretty much on television. A lot of it's on local television. But the NBA, you know, back in the day, we used to could watch the NBA on channel 20, channel 39, channel 51. We can
channel 2.
Watch channel 2. We can watch the games on regular television. Now you gotta search and search just to be able to, and you can't watch local games on the NBA app, which is just stupid.
Yeah.
You get Game Pass, you can't even watch it. So you have to sit up here and pay $80 a month just to watch your local teams. It's kind of crazy to me. So that's a big reason why the ratings aren't what they should be. But also think that you have to factor in the rating system is kind of old and antiquated anyway, because most young people now aren't watching their games on regular methods. They're not watching a game on television. Like I know, back in the, a lot of people, young guys, they don't watch the game at all. They'll catch everything through people tweeting about it on, I'm sorry, not tweet, whatever you want to call it now on X.
Man, it's still tweet. I'm not calling it. No, it's still.
So that's how they get. That's how they get all the information. So it's kind of a catch-22. Yeah, the ratings are down, but at the same time, it's probably not as bad as everybody make it. And it also doesn't help when you got your most popular show inside the NBA constantly talking about how bad the product is. That probably doesn't help your overall ratings as well, because you're not going to see that in the NFL. You're not going to go on, CBS before the show and before the game, they're talking about how horrible Kansas City and Pittsburgh are. You're just not going to see that. So that's a whole nother thing, and that's kind of why I don't even watch inside the NBA anymore, because it's just kind of a waste of time to me. But to each his own. If you do watch it, great. They're definitely entertaining. But if you're trying to actually learn basketball, you're probably not going to learn it from inside the NBA. So that's a whole nother problem with the ratings.
I don't know if you watch wrestling, if you watch WWE, but they doing something very smart. They partnering with streamers and and man, listen, ain't no better marketing agency than streamers right now, man. Streamers are going to get your product out there, and if you're nice to them, they're gonna talk a little nicer about your product too. They're gonna try to get every one of their millions and millions of fans and followers and subscribers to watch your stuff. Like actually watch it live. They're gonna encourage them. Then they can mess around and get discount codes from the Fubos, from these other platforms, these other I don't know what you call those platforms. These little platforms get discount codes to watch. Or hell, they can partner with the NBA themselves and get a discount code for League Pass and stuff like that. If the NBA is smart, but see, I can't be giving these ideas out there, because next thing you know, they're gonna be watching my thing. Not that I'm a somebody, but they're gonna be watching my thing, and then next thing you know, they implemented my plans. But we're gonna go patent that. Y'all ain't taking my stuff without paying me.
I mean, they gotta implement in more of what younger people are watching these days.
Exactly.
And they're not watching it on Comcast or Xfinity or whatever the hell it's called these days.
Man, they're watching on their phone or on their iPad or on their tablet. Yeah. Like nobody even watching it on a television these days, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So
they're watching it at work. They gotta work. Yeah. Shout out to you for spending that $80 sacrificing your eggs to watch the Rockets, man.
Man, if I wasn't doing this for a living, anyway, I ain't gonna say how I'll be watching it. But let's just say, Anyway,
we're not gonna say, but we go infer. That's what we gonna do. Yeah. We ain't gonna judge though, because most of us out here, that's what we doing anyway.
Hey, I'm just saying.
Hey man, everybody trying to cut costs, bro. NBA teams trying to cut costs too. Their salary too high. They're trying to cut costs too, man. So, hey man, to each their own. To each their own, man. But yeah, man. Before we wrap it up, though, man, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? Anything that you wanted to bring up? Anything at all, like basketball wise, NBA draft, anything else that you wanted to bring up?
No, other than Rockets fans should definitely. I would say Rockets fans have gotten a lot better about going to games, because, of course, when they were losing, and I would go to some of these games up in press row, man, I don't care if it was third or fourth quarter, still wasn't nobody in the arena. And you couldn't blame them. The Rockets were, what's the nicest way I can say it? They weren't a good team at the time. But now, you're starting to see more sellouts, even though, and I understand it's hard to get to Rockets games on time downtown during the week. The only reason I'm able to do it because I'm usually there 3 hours early, but I can imagine trying to get there 6, 7 o'clock. That traffic is horrible. So I don't get mad when, it's the lower bowl is empty and, you see on TV and there's nobody there. I don't get mad, but it's starting to, more and more second, third, fourth quarter, you see that it's starting to become full. And it'll be good to see that, especially once the playoffs get here. And, a lot of these fans that just became Rockets fans around the time of James Harden, they may not even know that much about, the playoffs and things like that, especially if you just start following the Rockets because you became a Jalen Green fan or, people from Turkey that's, following the Rockets because of Alper Şengün. They don't know anything about the playoffs. So that'll definitely be an experience just kind of, going through that. And like I said, it's definitely exciting. I'm looking forward to it. This will be the first time I'm able to actually cover the team as a playoff team, because really when I kind of started, it was on the tail end of James Harden and Russell Westbrook. That was like when I really just started covering them. And then it was just kind of misery after that up until the last 2 seasons. So it'll be good to actually see some playoff basketball in person.
Let me ask you this: like, what's from the time you started to now? Like, what's the difference that you see in covering the team then as opposed to now?
Well, I will say that some of the fan base is they are player only fans. Which, if that's your thing, that's fine. But just me growing up, I was never that way. If a player left the team, I'll be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah. You can still like the player.
But I wasn't like, okay, well, I ain't going to like the Rockets anymore. Because if I was going to do that, when Akeem went to Toronto, I would have never been a Rockets fan again, because Akeem was Akeem. He's the GOAT. He's a Rockets GOAT. So if Akeem can leave the Rockets and I'm still a Rockets fan, I think people should be more, hey, I'm following the Rockets. Yes, I have my favorite player, but I'm not rooting against the Rockets because my favorite player is not doing well. So that's definitely something I've noticed that's really started to change, even though I will say I was also a Rockets fan during the Jeremy Lin days. And boy. That was so
especially from if you would say you was on the Dream Shake, right? Were you on the Dream Shake back then?
So actually,
I used to be in the comment section in the little forums. It was nuts.
Yeah.
So it was nuts.
It was pretty.
Touch fans was crazy too. Oh my god. Yeah.
So that's kind of a thing that's really started taking off the last several years. Is people not being happy because the Rockets won because so and so, I'm not going to say a name, but so and so didn't do well, or so and so didn't get playing time, and so I don't care. The Rockets won. Who cares? My player didn't do well, but that's kind of a thing that's changed. But more than anything, especially now, of course, the Rockets are getting a little bit more attention. So we're starting to see a few national people actually starting to show up to some of the games that never showed up in any of the other years. So that's been kind of interesting to see how that plays out. But like I said, it's definitely been a lot better these last couple of years, because it's kind of hard covering the team, in game number 80, when it's not really anything else you can ask at that point when they are 20-61. It's not really too much you can talk about. So, I'm definitely looking forward to, watching some playoff basketball. That's for sure.
For sure, man. How about from like the I guess the public relations point of view, or I guess the front office point of view? Like, how's your relationship different with them now than it was back then?
I mean, it's really about the same, just because Rafael doesn't really talk to the media a lot. I mean, and that's fine, because that's not really his job. I mean, it's his job to kind of give hope to the fans, but at the end of the day, his job is to win games, because his boss, Tillman, wants him to win games. It's not really for him to be out there and rah-rah and telling the fans everything they want to hear. So, I mean, we talk to Rafael occasionally. I may see him in the hallway and say hello, but that's about it. He's not the type of person that at least from what I heard when Daryl was there, he would talk to everybody. He will constantly be talking. That's not Rafael. Rafael's not the type of person that's going to be constantly talking to you and giving you this inside this and inside that. That's just not really going to happen. So it's really more, like I said, most of the time I'm really, mainly talking to MA and the players and, interacting with them more than anybody else.
How you think the new facility has kind of changed the way practice goes? Has it changed how you cover the game now or cover the team now? Or how has it changed?
I would say it's definitely a lot better because going to cover practices at where they used to be at in the Toyota Center, the best way I can put it is like, I don't know if you can even consider it a high school gym. It's almost like one of those gyms they be like on a TV show when they act like it's a real court, but it's really just a half court, and they make it like it's some big, real huge court. Almost like, I don't know if you know that Fresh Prince scene where
the heave.
Yeah, it's basically like a half court. That's basically what the Rockets practice facility used to be. So now, I mean, it's night and day. I mean, we took the tour before it opened up, and now that's where they have all their practices, all their shoot-arounds. Actually, the only time they're at the Toyota Center is during games. They don't even do shoot-arounds at the Toyota Center anymore. They do everything at the practice facility. And it's like they got several courts now. They have all these different amenities that they didn't have at the Toyota Center. Like, I know the Rockets front office is rarely ever at the Toyota Center anymore. They're always at the practice facility because they have their own executive suites and stuff. So I just talking to the players, you could definitely tell it's a huge difference. I mean, they even got the thing on the scoreboard that can tell exactly, how fast they're shooting, their shooting motion. It gives all kind of different data just from them moving around on the court. That's how advanced this court is compared to where they were. So, I mean, maybe it doesn't necessarily translate to wins and losses, but it definitely doesn't hurt when you're actually able to go into a full-size gym and you don't have to wait for a group of players to get off the court before you can get on the court.
Man, the way it's looking, you can literally say that thing is paying off on the court. Just way, just from a chemistry standpoint, it looked like they know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and why to do it on both ends for the most part. Like, it looks like the chemistry is really clicking right now, man. And we don't even have a double-digit win streak at this point, but just watching the game on film, you can tell that something's changed. Obviously, the players got to go and do they work in the offseason too, and they got to come in early for practice, stay late, and all of that. But when you had a facility to do a lot of that extra stuff, especially from a PT standpoint, a physical therapy, therapy standpoint, the crowd. Well, I don't know if they got crowd chambers, but the cold tub and all that other kind of treatment stuff. It sounds like the players are taking hella advantage of it because just from what I'm hearing, it's just like they are always over there. Like, the players love being there. Like, they don't even like leaving. Like, damn.
And real quick, just kind of how they just give you kind of a real quick insight. Now you have it to where you can have 4 or 5 players, 6 players on one court, 4 or 5, 6 players on another court working on a part of the game, and then so on. So they got the entire team on the court now at one time working on different parts of the game. At the old facility, you literally had players on the sideline because you only had 2 courts. So you literally have to wait till the other group of players get off the court, and then they will come on the court, and then that will just kind of just slow down things. And now you don't have to do that. They're constantly all working at the exact same time now. Now no one has to sit down and wait for somebody else to get off the court. So, shout out to Tillman. I know a lot of people weren't happy with him when he first got here, but he didn't have to. He didn't have to do buy this facility, even though it was kind of his facility anyway. It was his Landry's facility, but he didn't have to spend the money to upgrade it and make it to a practice court at all. So definitely, shout out to him. He's doing what a owner should do. He's given his front office kind of the ability to do what they need, spend the money, and he's not getting in the way of anybody. So at the end of the day, you got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, it looked like Tillman has really grown as an NBA owner. The front office as much as they were new when he bought them, or when Daryl Morey and Tad Brown and the rest of them left, a lot of the new front office people, it seems like they've grown, from the time that they started till now. And sometimes we forget these people are human beings too. Like, they're not, whatever they are today isn't what they're gonna be tomorrow. And just like players grow and get better, so do front office personnel. So do coaches. You can name countless coaches that at their first stop they weren't all that good. Then in their second and third stop they just look so much better. So yeah, man. Shout out to all these guys, to the whole Rockets organization, man. It looks like all of the patience is starting to pay off, and we as fans, we certainly appreciate it, especially the ones that stuck through all the nasty. It's paying off now. We're gonna grow as Rockets fans. Our kids is gonna be Rockets fans. So the better y'all are now, the more merchandise we gonna buy and give to our kids and all of that. So appreciate the Rockets for doing what they're doing and believing in their vision and not changing course when that was the cool thing to do. That's a big thing. So yeah, man, I appreciate you for pulling up on us today, Mr. Binkley, man. Really appreciate it, man. Yeah, gotta do this some more. Yeah, for sure. Gotta do this some more. Hopefully it's not gonna take another year.
I think we can work out something before the year.
Yeah. We'll be able to work something out, man. We'll be able to work something out. But yeah, man, thanks for coming through, man. One more time, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you.
All right, yeah. So you can find me on Rockets on that side, which is part of Sports Illustrated. You can also find me on YouTube, Rocket Fuel Podcast. You can always find pre and post game, any events going on. Of course, on podcasts, we have one drop today, myself and Vader. So you can definitely find me there. You can find me on Twitter X at Binkley Hoops. You can find over all my written work and everything else. I also post on there. So definitely, like I said, check us out. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. We're trying to continue to do big things over there. Like I said, I appreciate all the support over the years, man. It's been great.
For sure. We're gonna put that Rockets Fuel YouTube channel in the description box below. The only way you don't know about it is if you're hiding under a rock for the last 4 years, man. Because that's a good channel over there for all y'all Rockets fans. Make sure y'all following that. Shout out to Mr. Vader too. I'll reach out to him. I get him on. I reach out to Vader. Vader be cracking me up on Twitter, man.
He'll definitely come on. So
it boy be cracking me up. He's funny, man.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, this has been another episode of the Shootin' the Ish podcast. I'm your man's AK Infinity. Follow me on Twitter /X at AK_VVS. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we can now be friends, and we can come back again and watch another episode. And we out.